It began with a cry in the night. Not a human scream or the sound of a lost child, but something smaller, yet somehow just as desperate. A meow. Sharp, panicked, and echoing off the canyon walls behind our farmhouse. We had moved out here to escape the noise, the chaos of the city. But that night, silence had a voice, and it belonged to a cat we didn't recognize. My daughter Lily was the first to hear it. She sat up in bed and called for me, whispering, "Dad, do you hear that?" I listened. There it was again, a distressed meow. We grabbed our flashlights and jackets and stepped into the cool darkness. The stars above were unusually bright, and there was an electric hum in the air, like the world was holding its breath. The cat was easy to spot. Jet black with piercing green eyes, it stood on the edge of the dried-up creek behind our house. When we approached, it didn't run. Instead, it turned, meowed once more, and began to walk, not away from us, but ahead like it wanted us to follow. "That's weird," I muttered. "Dad," Lily said, her voice trembling slightly. "It's trying to show us something." I wanted to laugh. It felt absurd, but something in the cat's gaze held weight. So we followed. For nearly 10 minutes, the cat led us through dry brush and thorny undergrowth, never once looking back, as if it knew we were right behind. Then it stopped. We came upon a shallow ravine, a place I had never noticed before. The earth had been scorched in a wide circle, blackened like it had been struck by lightning. And at the center of it was a wreck, a metallic structure, half buried and still steaming. I grabbed Lily and pulled her close. "Stay back." The cat walked right to the edge of the wreck and sat, waiting. The smell of burnt ozone hit my nose. I could see markings on the craft, nothing like our languages. Smooth curves etched with glowing blue lines. A hatch partially open, and something moving inside. "Dad, look," Lily whispered. Inside the ruined shell, crumpled and shivering, was a figure. Humanoid but not human. Slender, with skin that shimmered faintly like moonlight on water. It was covered in dust and blood, barely conscious. My instincts screamed at me to run. But my daughter, with tears already brimming, stepped forward. "We can't leave him. He's hurt." The alien lifted its head weakly, its eyes meeting mine, and there was no fear. Only pain. "Help," it whispered. The word wasn't spoken out loud, but echoed in my mind, like a thought not my own. The cat meowed again, loud and urgent. We rushed to the figure. I took off my jacket and gently laid it over him. He flinched but didn't resist. "Call 911, I told Lily. She pulled out her phone, but there was no signal. "Figures," I muttered. "We need to get him to the house. Now." Together, we carried the alien. He was lighter than he looked, like his bones were hollow. The cat never left our side. Back at the farmhouse, we laid him on the couch. I cleaned his wounds as best I could while Lily grabbed a blanket. The cat sat nearby, its green eyes never blinking, watching us both. I couldn't understand why I wasn't more afraid. Maybe it was the look in the alien's eyes. Maybe it was Lily's unwavering belief that we were doing the right thing. He opened his mouth again, but no sound came. Yet I heard it. "Thank you." Lily leaned in. "What's your name?" Silence. Then, in our minds, Zane. That night, the world changed. Not just for us, but for something much bigger. Because we didn't just find a survivor. We found someone being hunted. And we were now part of it. The cat jumped up beside Zane and curled against his side. That's when we realized it hadn't just found us by accident. It had led us to him. And it wasn't done yet. The next morning, everything felt different. Zane hadn't moved from the couch, but his breathing had become steadier, his eyes more alert. The cat, still unnamed, remained at his side like a silent protector. And for the first time since the crash, the strange alien opened his eyes and truly looked at us. Not with fear, but with recognition. I was making coffee when he spoke again, not with his mouth, but inside my head. "They are coming." I froze. "Who's coming?" Zane sat up slowly, grimacing as he clutched his side. His skin glowed faintly beneath his bandages. "The ones who shot me down. They will not stop." Lily came into the room and sat beside him, her eyes wide. "Why you? What did you do?" Zane looked to the cat, who gave a quiet meow and brushed its head against his hand. "I saved this one," he said simply. "They wanted it for something else." I ran. It all felt too big to process. Government conspiracies? Aliens hunting cats? It sounded like a late-night B-movie plot. But here he was in our living room, alive and afraid. And the cat had chosen us. "Can you walk?" I asked. Zane nodded slowly. "A little." Not far. But I must recover quickly. Time is short. We spent the rest of the day trying to help him. Lily brought warm soup and watched cartoons with him, trying to lift his spirits. I drove into town to get supplies, medical gear, non-perishables, and an old CB radio I hoped could still pick up something useful. When I returned, Lily was asleep beside the alien, the cat nestled between them. Zane looked at me and spoke gently into my thoughts. Your daughter has great courage. She has light. I didn't answer. I couldn't. My throat tightened. He continued. There is more at stake than you know. That night the wind howled outside, and around midnight the cat jumped to the windowsill and hissed. I jolted awake. Something was wrong. I crept to the window and peeked through the curtain. 2 figures in the distance. Not walking, gliding. Pale, thin, and human. They moved with unsettling stillness, like they were weightless. Their eyes glowed dimly in the dark. Zane stood up behind me, his body trembling. Trackers. They've found me. I turned, my heart thudding. What do? We can't fight them. We must run. But the moment we opened the door, it was too late. One of them was already in the yard, floating just inches above the grass. The other circled around the back. The cat leaped forward and snarled, not like a house pet, but like something primal and ancient. Its eyes flashed gold. Suddenly, the creature in the yard recoiled, shielding its face. Zane took that chance to grab Lily and pull her behind him. I stood between them and the second figure, gripping a shovel like it was a sword. We're not handing him over. The alien raised a hand, and for a brief moment, I saw it hesitate. But then it lunged. A bright flash. Everything went white. When my vision returned, the second figure was gone. Disintegrated. Only a scorched mark on the ground remained. Zane stood with his arm outstretched. His chest heaved and sweat poured down his brow. He had used the last of his strength. But it wasn't over. The first figure had vanished into the trees, its shriek echoing through the night. I ran to Lily and checked her over. She was shaken but unharmed. Zane collapsed. We need help, I whispered. Real help. But how do you explain this to anyone? How do you call the police and say, an alien saved my daughter and our cat fought off monsters from space? You don't. You hide. You protect. And you trust. We pulled Zane inside, laid him back on the couch, and this time, Lily placed the cat on his chest. He saved us, she said softly. I nodded. No, they both did. We didn't sleep that night. We just waited, knowing it was only the beginning. Somehow, the cat had known. Somehow, it had brought us here to this moment. And tomorrow, we would follow it again. Wherever it led. Because now we weren't just saving Zane. We were part of something bigger. Something that had just begun. We didn't know it at the time, but that third night would be the last. Not the last of our lives, but the last night we were just a father and daughter living quietly on a ranch. After that, nothing would ever be the same. Zane had regained some of his strength. His wounds were healing faster than human injuries would. The cat never left his side. It wasn't just guarding him anymore, it was guiding him. That morning, we sat on the porch. Zane looked out at the sunrise with an expression I couldn't quite read. I have to leave, he said in our minds. Before they come again. This place is no longer safe. Lily clutched the cat to her chest. But where will you go? He looked at her, warmth in his luminous eyes. Home. But not alone. It took a moment for me to understand. The cat. She's not from here, is she? I asked. He nodded. She was sent ahead. A scout. An ambassador of sorts. Her kind are sensitive, to danger, to kindness, to light. She led me to you because she knew you would help. I laughed gently. We don't feel special. That, Zane said, is what makes you special. We spent the rest of the day preparing. Zane couldn't use our car, and it wasn't like he could hitchhike down the highway. So we helped him move deeper into the hills, to a cave system beyond the ridge. It wasn't permanent, but it would give him cover until his people could come. He gave Lily something before he left, a small crystal that shimmered in her palm. It will glow if danger comes near. And if I ever need to find you again, it will guide me. Lily wiped her eyes. Will I ever see you again? Zane didn't promise. He only said, if the stars are kind. As he turned to leave, the cat, no longer just a cat, walked beside him. At the edge of the trees, she looked back at us one last time. And then they were gone. We stood there long after the sun had set, watching the trees, listening to the silence. And for the first time, it didn't feel empty. It felt connected. Weeks passed. The world kept turning. But inside us, something had shifted. We were no longer just observers in the universe. We had helped someone who didn't belong here. We had protected him, trusted him, and watched him walk away because it was the right thing to do. We didn't post about it. We didn't seek fame or proof. We just went back to life. But not without change. Lily began drawing again. Her notebooks filled with stars, ships, and glowing-eyed guardians. Her nightmares faded, replaced by a quiet confidence. As for me, I started keeping the porch light on at night. Not because I was afraid, but because maybe, just maybe, someone else might need to find their way. Moral of the story asterisk. Sometimes the greatest acts of courage come not from fighting, but from protecting. Not from knowing all the answers, but from being willing to help, even when the story is too strange to believe. And sometimes a cat isn't just a cat. Sometimes it's the beginning of everything.